Today we're talking about creating a drop shadow for our letters. Yesterday you created a sketch of your letters. You laid them out either in block or bubble fashion, and now you're ready to create the drop shadow to make it look as if they're popping off the page. So this is a two-dimensional way of creating a three-dimensional effect. And the way that we're going to do this, you could freehand it, but I'm going to show you a tool that helps you to create a consistent drop shadow so that you don't really have to think too much about, which direction do I have to go? It's already there for you. So the materials you'll need include your sketch, a sharpener, 2 contrasting colored pencils, and a piece of tracing paper. Now, when we talk about contrasting colors, contrast means opposite. So in this case, I've gone with a lighter color and a darker color, or we could say a warm color and a cool color. They're opposite colors on the color wheel so that they're going to stand out from one another. And this is going to make it a little bit easier for me to see as I'm tracing. I also made sure that I had a really nice point on each of my colored pencils because I'll get a cleaner line if they've been sharpened recently. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tracing paper, I'm going to gently lay it over my sketch, and I could use tape if I wanted to hold this down. In my case, I'm just going to use my non-dominant hand to support the paper and just apply some firm pressure so that it doesn't move. But my first step is really just to take my colored pencil. I'm starting with the lighter one. You could start with the darker one. It does not matter. Start with your colored pencil and just trace over the lines that you created the other day. Remember that if there are mistakes that you made on your sketch, don't draw over the mistakes, redraw the mistakes a little bit. So edit as you go. And just try to carefully stick to what's already there. So in a case of editing, I might make my C just a little bit big because there's kind of a big gap there between the K and the C, as well as the I. And I think I could do it a little bit neater. So I'm gonna redraw that. Oh, I got a little blip there, that's okay. And I'm gonna scooch my K over just a little bit. Now, the trick about that is it will cause me to have to think a little bit more as I move my tracing, but that's okay. So, and having that sharp tip really makes a difference because I'm getting such a nice smooth line from the Prismacolor. All right, so as soon as I'm done, I have my bolder, cleaner version of my sketched name. Now, here's the part where we make the shadow. So right now my letters are pretty much, ignoring this part where I redrew it, my letters are on top of the letters equally. To create a drop shadow, what I need to do is move my paper. Now, moving it straight up or straight down is not going to give me a huge shadowy effect. It's going to look like the light source is right here, and it's going to be sort of confusing for the viewer. It's not really going to pop off the page. So a better direction to go is to the left or to the right on a diagonal. And you can do this as an upwards diagonal or downwards diagonal in either direction. I think I'm going to have mine kind of popping up this way, but it's really a matter of taste and preference. So all that I did, if you can see this, I'll try and lift it up a little bit. All that I did was move the outline so that I can see the outline of the letter outside of the letter that I already drew. And this is where the 2 colors comes in really handy. I'm going to play around with the positioning until I get a shadow that I like. All right, and as I said, because I sort of redrew my letters, it's going to make it a little trickier over here, so I might have to freehand a little bit of that, but at least I can see the consistent direction that I'm going. So at this point, it's telling me that my light source is over here, this is the solid part of the letter, the shadow's being cast in this direction. So now my challenge is to take my contrasting color and draw only what is outside of my original color. So where the line intersects with the orange, I'm not going to draw it. I'm only going to draw where it stays outside. If I draw the inner part, that's going to tell me that the letter is see-through, and that's going to completely ruin the effect of the shadow. So, as neatly and carefully as possible, I'm tracing everything outside of the letter. And just to help us see this, I'm going to shade mine in a little bit. You do not have to do this step unless it's helpful for you to see it. But I'm just going to put a light value down there so that the illusion becomes more clear. And I did a pretty good job of not going inside of the orange outline. So I'll do the same thing for the eye. Now it gets kind of close to the end there. That's okay with me. I don't really mind that. I'm adjusting a little bit of the circle for the eye. And that's the other thing too. It's okay to shift the shape of even your shadows if it helps make the design look more balanced. Again, with my C, I'm kind of going to redraw this line. But the nice thing is I have an idea of where it should be going because I can see where the outline is. So even though I'm not sticking to the original one that I did, I have enough information where I can edit it and the shadow won't suddenly be going in a different direction, which is always the problem that I run into when I try to freehand this. Inevitably, some part of my shadow will be going the wrong direction and it'll just confuse me and the viewer. So I'm actually going to pull this shadow out a little bit more than it is in the sketch. This is fine. I can leave that as is. Leave that as well. And I'm going to fill in that shape. And that is how to create a drop